Hello, and thank you for joining another edition of the Partners in Prevention Show. I'm your host, Keeta King, and on October 15th, Partners in Prevention will participate in the 2015 Poverty Conference, brought to us and hosted by the Junior League of Longview. So here with me today to share some coffee and talk a little bit about what Partners in Prevention will do and what role we'll play at the Poverty Conference is Councilwoman Kristen Ishihara
Thank you for having
and
me.
Crista Black.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome to the Partners in Prevention Show for the first time, actually.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing this to our community, and thank you for allowing us to be involved. Now, I know we're playing a few different roles, but today we're going to talk a little bit about our couple of breakout sessions that we're having. And one is the World Cafe, which we'll talk about a little bit later because I'm actually facilitating that. But the poverty simulation, you're bringing in our poverty simulation. How awesome is that?
Yes, we're so excited.
So I think that everyone should go through this poverty simulation. What made you guys decide to bring this aspect to the conference?
Oh, we totally agree. I personally went through the poverty simulation about 6 or 7 years ago, and it really was a life-changing experience for me. It was so eye-opening about what people can go through when they're dealing with poverty.
Right.
And so it's easy to judge when it's something that I'm not personally dealing with, to look at and see choices that other people are making. But until you actually physically put yourself into their shoes, you really don't understand those choices. Right. And the simulation really allows you to do that. So we feel like everyone should go through that, so we all have a greater understanding.
Right.
Yes, and I too have gone through the simulation, and one thing that it really showed me is that poverty is not about just money.
Right.
And that's something that we really want to educate people on and be able to, have them experience the same thing we experienced when we went through the simulation.
Right, right. And for those who are viewing and they've never gone through the simulation, can we kind of walk them through kind of what that layout looks like?
Sure, it's actually, gosh, I am so impressed that Partners does it so often. It takes a lot of people to put it on with a lot of work behind the scenes. And so when you come in as a participant, you're given a role. You get a whole packet with kind of your role for, I think it's 6 weeks of time. And so let's say, I think my role at the time was, I believe I was a single mom and I had 3 kids. And there are actually participants that are the 3 kids. So during the simulation, I get up and I take my 3 kids one to school here, one to daycare here, and then I have to get to my job.
Right, and you have to have a bus pass to even get there.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you learn all those little things that when I have my own car that I just get into, it's so much easier.
Right.
But when you get a bus pass, they take that bus pass from you, and then at the end of the workday, I don't have enough bus passes to go pick up my kids and get back home. So it really helps put you in that exact situation of what people struggle with every day.
Right, and I found myself when I first went through it getting frustrated. I was very frustrated because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? You get this little card that it's kind of like an unfortunate events type thing, and the kid is sick, but I need to work, and I'm fresh out of bus passes. What do I do? And people actually go through this every day, lose sleep thinking about how they're going to make these things happen for them and their children every day. So was there ever a point in time when you guys were like, okay, enough is enough. I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I would make it if this was my reality.
I think Partners in Prevention does an excellent job of setting up realistic scenarios to where everyone who goes through the poverty simulation gets to a point where you almost feel like there's no hope. Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get to this next, thing on my list that I'm supposed to do? And I think that's why it's so powerful, because when you really go in and you put yourself in that situation and try to embrace that role that you've been given, you are so frustrated and you feel very hopeless at some point. And I think that's why it's so powerful, because it does paint a picture of where we don't truly understand it, but you have a better understanding. And I think it gives you a different lens to look through when serving in our community.
What was most frustrating to me was you had resources in the simulation, so there were resources available, but I couldn't get to them, given my circumstances. I either didn't have the money or the bus pass, or I had to work 8 to 5, and those resources were only available 8 to 5.
Right.
So it really helped me understand better why we could have resources, but yet people aren't able to utilize them because we haven't figured out how to help them do that.
And you know, I remember one time, actually it was the first time I had to go pick up my child from daycare to keep, you know, him from getting picked up by the state. And I rushed over to the human resources line, and 5 o'clock, the bell went off, and I had to go home. I couldn't get the services. And so that's when I was like, you know, what gives? What do I need to do? So for people who feel like, you know, if you go to work, if you get a job, you work and you go to work on time, you shouldn't experience poverty. You know, just get out and get a job. Is that really a reality? I mean, after going through the poverty simulation,
I feel like that's exactly what I learned, that is not reality.
Yeah.
Right.
That if I just work 8 to 5 in a minimum wage job, that I am not making the smartest choice probably, because I'm not able to provide for childcare, transportation, getting all the resources that are available to me.
Right.
We're just not set up that way.
So tell me this, what do you guys hope to accomplish with the poverty conference by bringing in, what do you want people to walk away with, I guess I should say?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things. You know, one thing, we are really hopeful that people will become more educated about how to serve those in poverty, and also what resources we have available in Longview. Our hope also is that people will feel led to maybe plug in and start serving in our community, because there are a lot of wonderful organizations such as Partners in Prevention that do need volunteers to be successful with those they serve. And so education is key, and that's one thing as a league we had not done yet, but now, you know, we are committed to educating our community. So that's one big thing, and I know, Kristen, you could probably add to that, because we have a lot of hopes with
We
this.
do. We have a lot of hopes. I would really just say that I hope it brings us together as a community. You know, we're first called to love one another, and sometimes judgment of other people gets in the way of that.
Right.
And poverty is certainly one of those issues that there is a lot of judgment floating around. So I hope that it'll rally our community together and help us, you know, help our neighbor.
Right.
Yes.
And I think it was very wise for you guys to bring in the World Cafe, because that's pretty much what the World Cafe does. I mean, it's a platform for open, honest dialogue where people from different walks of life can actually sit down, have a conversation, exchange ideas and mindsets. Sometimes they don't, most of the time they don't agree. That's what you want, though, because you need to know what other people are thinking, what they're going through. You can't really relate until you actually hear somebody's story. So World Cafe is like a cross-pollination, I guess you'd say, of ideas and thoughts. Of course, the subject this time will be about poverty. And I've sat down and I've thought about some questions, and I've shared them with you. And I think we'll get a pretty interesting feedback from it. And you've gone through the World Cafe. We had one a couple of months ago. I mean, I'm hoping that in doing it the World Cafe style, no one will feel like they can't come out and say what they really need to say, even if it's not popular. We need to hear it, because hopefully we can combat it. Maybe in the next, at the next poverty conference, or at the next breakout session. And you have never attended, right?
I have not been through World Cafe, no, I haven't.
Okay, well, you have to attend the breakout session. Not just because I'm doing it, but you have to attend.
Of course.
What that looks like, Krista, we have it set up like a cafe. People come in, we have a topic. Of course, the topic will be poverty, and it's centered around how many paychecks are you away from poverty. And you're literally in a situation. You've got to figure your way out of it. Not through a simulation, but just conversation.
Yes.
Each table has what we call a sous host, or sous chef, I'm sorry, a table host that kind of keeps the conversation going, doesn't allow anyone to dominate the conversation, makes sure that everyone's respectful, and which we should be anyways. And we talk about questions that one group, we'll have various groups, tables, and we'll talk about one question for about 20 minutes. And people give their answers, their variant answers. When that 20 minutes is up, you'll rotate tables with a totally different group of people and answer a different question. And you get more insight. So when you leave, before you leave, we harvest. And we hope when you leave after the harvest, you come out with a broader, you know, insight as to what's going on, or what you need to do about it, or maybe what you were wrong about. So
And
So
hopefully met some people that you wouldn't necessarily run into in your everyday life.
Right, and thank you. That's another beautiful
yeah.
thing about it. There are people that, you know, you may not ordinarily break bread with, you know, or sit with. You don't have a choice at the World Cafe. You got to sit and eat with everybody.
That's
so
awesome.
So that was a really good thing, and thank you again for bringing that aspect to it. Also, the Bridges panel session.
Yes.
So what is that going to look like? Bridges Out of Poverty, I'm sorry.
Well, during the poverty simulation, you know, Lyndall and Holly have selected individuals who are going to come and share personal stories of how they have experienced poverty and just their steps of trying to get out of poverty. And I think that's going to make the poverty simulation all that more impactful. Because once the individual has gone through the simulation, they're going to be able to hear a true, real story of someone living here in our community who is going through it and who is trying to overcome it. Right. And I think that will, you know, be as meaningful as the poverty simulation. When Poverty Conference happened a couple of years ago, there was a panel discussion with individuals who had lived in poverty or were currently living in poverty, and that was a very popular breakout session. People really responded to hearing the personal stories.
Right.
So we thought, how wonderful and meaningful would it be to partner that with the poverty simulation? Because, you know, you've got the action of actually going through it, but then you've got the story being told as well from someone living in it. So we're so excited when they agreed to do that.
Awesome. So will questions come from the league, or are questions going to come from the audience for the panel?
From the audience. And
Okay.
we, Holly and Lyndall are working through, we're talking about what some of those questions might be.
Okay.
But I do think after the simulation, people will have questions, but I think it's going to be more of, okay, what can I do and how can I get involved? And that's what we want.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you guys would like to share about the poverty simulation, the poverty conference, or what role we may be playing, or what your hopes and aspirations are for it?
Well, we are just really grateful that Partners in Prevention has stepped up and been such a large partner. I mean, we definitely couldn't do it without you. And, you know, part of our whole plan is trying to do the poverty simulation in the World Cafes and personal stories. And that's just something we don't do every day, and you guys do. So we're really proud that the city of Longview has that in our resume, and really grateful that you guys are going to be such a strong partner.
Absolutely. So we as a league knew when we decided to plan the poverty conference that we are not the experts, but we have so many who are, and Partners, y'all are one of the experts. So of course we reached out to you first. So
thank you. Well, we really appreciate it. We're really excited about it too, and we're preparing to not disappoint. We're going to have a great time, and hopefully it'll be very impactful. So
yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We
Thank
appreciate
you so
it.
much.
And if you would like more information about the Poverty Conference, you can contact Partners in Prevention at 903-237-1017, or you can visit us on the web at pip.longviewtexas.gov. The Poverty Conference will take place October 15th at LeTourneau University at the Belcher Center. We hope to see you there.
October is Fire Prevention Month, and Sparky is going to show you what to do when you hear the beep where you sleep. Sparky, are you ready? Just like Sparky, make sure to roll out of bed. It's important not to stand up just in case smoke is in the room, because you don't want to breathe in bad air. Now get on your hands and knees, get low, and go. When you are safely out of your house, go to your meeting place. Great job, Sparky. For more information, go to longviewtexas.gov/fire or call 903-237-1119.